All right, so today we're going to talk about getting ready for TK and kindergarten. We're also going to give you an overview of what a TK school day looks like versus what a kindergarten school day looks like. We're going to give you some tips on how to support your child this summer, but also how you can be supporting them throughout the school year. So, this is going to include some academic tips, social emotional tips, and even some tips to support your child with potty training this summer. And then we're going to give you a glimpse into what you can expect to see the first few weeks of school. So that's going to include what classroom procedures are going to look like, what's considered developmentally appropriate behavior for TK and kindergarten, especially at the start of the school year, and what academic expectations look like in these early learning grade levels. All right, so we're going to start with our school day overview. So, in Natomas Unified, we offer a full day TK program, and you can check your school's webpage. Start and end times vary based on school site, but the number of hours that they are in school is the same. It's just going to depend on which school you'd go to determine when drop off is and when pickup is. And TK really emphasizes social emotional development. So we do work on academics in transitional kindergarten, but social emotional development is the primary goal in TK. So what does social emotional development include? That's self-regulation, following classroom routines. We're really working on getting them used to being in a classroom and building up their stamina to be part of a full school day. We also work on problem solving skills in TK. So, when they're little, they don't necessarily have all of the vocabulary to express how they're feeling about something. They maybe don't know what resources they have to solve a problem. So, we're really working to provide those resources for them, but also giving them the communication skills that they need in order to effectively solve problems on their own with peers. We're working on relationship skills with peers and adults. So, how do they get along with others? How do they ask for things that they need? We want them to work on responsible decision-making skills. So, for example, how to make safe choices, right? Them understanding, is it safe for me to be standing on the table? Should I be sitting on the table? All the decisions that they would need to make in order to be successful and safe at school. We also work on social awareness in TK. So this is recognizing how others feel. So, for example, if they accidentally bump into somebody, recognizing that, while it's an accident, potentially that person, you know, didn't realize it was an accident. And so just being able to communicate, that we understand that sometimes decisions can make people feel a certain way, or, maybe one of our classmates comes to school and they're sad. So thinking about how they could support their classmate if they notice or recognize that their classmate maybe has a little bit of different emotion that day. We're also teaching them to appreciate similarities and differences of classmates. When they're little, they don't necessarily know, what's the same about their classmates, what's different. So we're really working to support them with that as well. Self-awareness, we want them to build confidence. And be able to identify their own emotions appropriately. So, if they're upset about something or they're really excited about something and they want to share that, how are they able to express that and identify how they're feeling and communicate that to adults or peers? All right, so TK school day overview, social emotional learning. What does this look like in terms of the activities that they're doing in TK? So we focus a lot on morning meetings and community circles. So what this looks like is opportunities for students to share things that are important to them with their classmates, being able to talk about how they feel, being part of the classroom community. Those are all things that you would see in a morning meeting and a community circle. These typically take place every morning or at least several mornings each week. We do a lot of social stories and read alouds. A lot of them will focus on friendship and feelings because, again, we're working on them developing those social emotional skills. There's a lot of cooperative play and partner activities. You'll see a lot of centers happening in TK, which is where they're working in small groups. Teachers may be working with a small group of students based on what their need is, and then the students will rotate through all of those centers during the day. You'll see a lot of role playing. This is how we support them with like conflict resolutions, learning how to communicate with classmates. You'll see a lot of visual supports in the classroom. So this could be like feeling charts, classroom expectations, or even like a classroom schedule that has picture cards to illustrate for the students what they can expect happening during that school day. We do a lot of explicit teaching of problem solving language. So we give them sentence frames like I feel or can I use that when you are done? So we really want to make sure that we're giving them the proper language they need in order to solve problems, in order to ask for what they need, or to be able to communicate what their needs are to adults, but also their classmates. So our goals for social emotional development by the end of TK is we really want them to be able to follow routines with increasing independence, because that's going to be really important when they transition into a kindergarten classroom. We want them to be able to use words to express their feelings and needs. So again, you'll see a lot of vocabulary development happening in TK so that they have a lot of different word choices that they can use in order to express how they're feeling. We want them to be able to demonstrate empathy towards others, being able to recognize when others are upset or maybe need a friend. We want them to be able to resolve minor conflicts with adult guidance. In TK, it takes a while for them to learn those skills, and we understand that even in kindergarten they'll need some guidance. But we want them to feel more confident in being able to resolve conflicts or disagreements with a classmate. And we want them to show resilience when faced with challenges. So, in TK, we're really trying to support them in understanding that it's okay if we don't understand something the first time we try it. And it might take us a long time to solve a puzzle. And that's how we learn. So, really teaching them don't give up and, keep trying and, that it is absolutely okay if it takes them longer than the first try to learn something or to solve a puzzle or a problem. And then finally, we really want them to be able to participate positively in a group setting. So, this is them being excited for classmates when they get to come up to the whiteboard and write something for the teacher, raising their hand if they want to share something, being able to recognize personal space. So all of those things are really what we're hoping students are able to feel confident in by the end of TK. All right, so academics in TK look different from kindergarten. So TK lessons are aligned to the kindergarten Common Core state standards. And they emphasize play-based learning. Now, while we're going over the kindergarten standards in TK, it's not to the same level that you would see the standards being taught in an actual kindergarten classroom. So when they are working on these kindergarten standards, you'll see, again, like I said, more play-based learning activities. So dramatic play centers, this is where children can practice communication. We talked a lot about them developing new vocabulary, cooperation, problem solving, building activities. So like, for example, blocks, or you'll see like those magnet tiles, geo shapes, Legos, those types of activities really support students, especially at this age, with spatial awareness, creativity, but also collaboration. A lot of times in TK, you'll see students working on building activities together. There's a lot of sensory exploration. So this is like water tables, Play-Doh, and this really encourages inquiry and language development. Cooperative games. So cooperative games really support them in teamwork, taking turns. We talked about that self-regulation as being one of our goals with social emotional development. The cooperative games really support them with that self-regulation as well. Outdoor exploration. This encourages observation, investigation, physical development. You might even see them using outdoor materials for art projects, like you might see them doing leaf art or something like that, depending on what unit they're studying. And then you'll see a lot of literacy play centers. And we're going to talk later in this presentation about our early literacy initiative in Natomas Unified and how TK and kindergarten fit into that work that we're doing. But these literacy play centers, some examples of this would be, puppets or storytelling stations and writing activities. They're really developing those early writing skills in TK, the letter formation, and by the end of TK, you will see them start to write sentences. All right, so with academic learning in TK, it's really important to note for families that TK is about exposure to kindergarten standards, not mastery. So it is not the expectation that your students are meeting all kindergarten standards by the end of TK. When TK was initially created, it was considered the first year of a 2-year kindergarten program. Now that we've expanded that age, TK really has transformed into the bridge between preschool and kindergarten. So you will see them working on some preschool standards, but also those kindergarten standards as well. And all content areas are taught in a TK day, but the main focus is on the early literacy and those early math skills. So academically in TK, the success that we're looking for is them being able to ask questions and exploring ideas on their own. So when we say ask questions, that could be if you're reading a story with them, are they able to ask you questions about something they don't understand in the story, right? Or if they are trying to communicate something, them being able to ask what the vocabulary word would be to express how they're feeling. So really getting them to use questioning as a way to support their learning. We want to see them playing and learning with peers. So we talked about those center rotations. While those are play-based, they are centered around some kind of academic standards. So it might be sorting, or it might be making letters with the Play-Doh, or them working with a partner to count objects. We want to see them following routines and building independence. So following routines does include academic routines as well. Developing language and communication skills. And then again, really building those early literacy and math skills. And then overall, we really just want to see them have increased confidence as learners. We want them to develop a love for learning in TK. So they go into kindergarten excited about being in school and continuing to learn more around those kindergarten standards. So TK really, if we were going to sum up TK in one sentence, it would be that we are really building the whole child and not expecting children to master kindergarten academics. TK is how do we get them ready to be successful in a kindergarten classroom? All right, so we do have a video. This is just a short clip that shows you a couple of clips of some of our TK classrooms and early learning classrooms in Natomas Unified. And you will hear some sound bites from some of our TK teachers in Natomas that give you some insight into what their day looks like and what your student can expect in a TK class.
You ready? Okay, so you chose red. What color do you want to do for your circle? It's really important for students to have that first interaction once they're between 4 and 5 years old. Students are coming in, they're learning how to be independent. What's the good stuff that you learn? We learn sacred to take. Good. It's a very fluid environment that's being led by the children. Early learning is child-led and play-based. They're doing learning centers, the library, art, science, dramatic play.
And then as they're in those learning centers, we're targeting focused skills, say sorting, and then we will facilitate within that center. Did you build anything cool today?
Yeah.
What did you build?
A house.
When parents enroll their child in an NUSD early learning program, they can expect a nurturing and supportive environment that promotes the academic, social, and emotional well-being of their child. Our philosophy of education is very hands-on and it's very data-driven. And so our instruction is targeted based on the data that we're always looking at data and always modifying instruction based on data. What's at the end of my sentence? Punctuation. These programs are long-standing and successful. They have low ratios of teacher to students. We have excellent resources and all of the might of a public school system behind us. You try.
All right, so in that clip, you heard some of our teachers talking about the centers and how while they're playing at those centers, they are around some kind of academic standard or academic focus. So for example, one of the teachers talked about sorting. That's what you could expect to see in a TK classroom. So now I want to talk about what does a kindergarten day look like? Because it does vary. I mean, it does change from what you would expect in a TK classroom. However, there's some overlap as well. So we do have a full day kindergarten program as well. And again, we have the school site's web pages linked here for you, and you'll get a copy of the slide deck so you have access to all of the links that we have in here as well. That will take you to your school's bell schedule, and you can see the start and the end time for your students' kindergarten class. So kindergarten really builds on those foundational skills that they're learning in TK with increased academic expectations and independence. So there is a more instructed academic time. So academics will be in longer, the lessons will be a little bit longer than what you see in TK, but they'll also dig a little bit deeper into those kindergarten standards, because in kindergarten is when we shift from exposure to more of mastery. There's a greater emphasis on reading, writing, and math. There's longer periods of sustained attention and independent work. And application of the literacy and math skills is what you'll see in order to meet those standards. So again, in TK, we talked about exposure, and then in kindergarten, that's where you're going to see them actually applying those skills in order to master those standards. And then again, learning is focused on grade level standards mastery more so than what you would see in a TK classroom. So success in a kindergarten classroom looks like students being able to participate in whole group and small group instruction. So you will still see that same type of center rotations or teachers pulling small groups to support students with what their individual needs are in a kindergarten class, just like you would see in TK. But you'll see a little bit more of that whole group instruction as well in a kindergarten class. Listening and following multi-step directions is going to be a greater emphasis in kindergarten. And then completing more tasks independently. Using beginning reading skills to decode and understand text. So we talked about like those pre-literacy skills in TK. In kindergarten is where we're going to move into decoding and things like that. Writing to communicate ideas, opinions, and information. So they do informational and opinion writing in kindergarten. And kindergarten is where we move from writing like one sentence or two sentences to writing 3 to 5 sentences, really looking at what does writing look like in maybe a paragraph form. Applying math skills to solve problems and explain their thinking. Also, we want them to be able to demonstrate perseverance when learning becomes challenging. So we talked a little bit about that in TK. We want to increase that stamina in kindergarten as well. Working collaboratively with classmates while managing conflicts appropriately, asking questions, sharing ideas. So if, for example, when we're reading a story in kindergarten, teachers might be asking students, what do you think this story is about? What's your prediction? And students feeling confident to share their ideas about a story or something that they're doing. but also engaging in academic discussions. So, for example, in kindergarten, we'll do math talks. A teacher might put a picture of 5 dots on the screen or on the whiteboard and ask students, what do you see? Talk to a partner about what you see. If you think it's 5 dots, how do you know it's 5 dots? And really getting them to be able to explain their thinking. And then building confidence as readers, writers, mathematicians, and problem solving. So again, we talked about the confidence in TK. We want them to continue to build that academic confidence in a kindergarten classroom as well. All right, so this next clip is from one of our kindergarten classes at Bannon Creek. We're just going to show you about 2 minutes of what a lesson looks like using some of our curriculum, but then you'll hear a soundbite from the teacher on some of that social, emotional, and community building piece that she incorporates into her kindergarten class as well.
Good. I'm going to break down some sounds and you put them together. Here we go. It. Your turn. It. Nice. My turn. E. Your turn. E. D. Nice. We're row 2, row 1. Fabulous. All eyes are on me. Ready? The next word. Your turn. My turn. My turn. Aiden, are you ready? Okay, my turn. And your turn. And my turn. And your turn. Excellent. Look, Zion, your eyes were on me the whole time. Excellent. Say excellent work, Zion. In order to build a classroom culture, you have to look at yourself and feel what is important. And for my children to know that they feel safe is very important and that they feel loved. So that they feel that by me, the adults in my classroom, and their fellow classmates. So it's important that I model compliments, I model love to them, speaking to them in a manner that's very straightforward sometimes, but with love. And my students must do that in the same with one another. They need to show that they care about each other and they are kind.
So you could see in that clip, the teacher, you saw a little bit of the academics, but you could see her working in some of that social emotional development as well. And you heard her talking about that at the end.
Any breakdown?
About how it's important to, support students in supporting each other and recognizing accomplishments of their classmates. So we're still working on that social emotional piece in kindergarten as well. All right, so supporting your child at home. So this summer, it's really important for students to have opportunities to talk, play, explore, and engage with caring adults. So just even having a conversation with your child about maybe something that you watched on TV together, or a book that you read, or maybe you go for a walk in the neighborhood and you ask them, what do you see? Can you describe that to me? And, really helping them develop that vocabulary, being able to describe things in their environment. Reading together daily is one of the most important things that you can do. And we'll actually, on the next slide, we have a clip from one of our Natomas Unified students, really outlining for parents what the recommendations are for reading together. But this builds vocabulary, listening skills, and a love for reading. Talk to your child often. Like I said, this can be a conversation about anything. It doesn't have to be about school. It can be about what you did together that day. It could be about the walk that you went on in your neighborhood. It could be about a new toy that they got, but really asking them questions and getting them to feel confident with their communication skills. Provide opportunities for play and exploration. So this is with you independently and also with peers. Maybe if you have kids around their same age in the neighborhood, it's great for them to have opportunities to play with peers as well. Establishing consistent routines. This will be really helpful this summer because you want them to be on a schedule that they're used to when they start school. And this also will help them build independence and feel prepared when they do start school. So routines will also be, okay, so when you get up, you eat breakfast, then you get dressed, then you brush your teeth, or whatever you think your routine is going to be when school starts. That's what you really want to support them with in the summer so that when school does start, they're already ready to go. Encourage independence. So this could even be them practicing tying their shoes or maybe being able to get dressed on their own, maybe packing their backpack in the morning. Those are all things that we want to try to encourage. Any kind of activities that they can do independently will support them with that as well. And then make learning fun in your house. You know, we want them to be curious and ask questions and have a positive attitude about learning. So if families are excited about learning, then our students will be excited. And that's what we really try to do in Natomas Unified as well. Our teachers and our staff are excited about learning because we want our love for learning to transfer to our students as well. And then one important tip for summer, the goal isn't to accelerate academics. It really is to help students become confident, curious, and ready to learn. So that's the best thing that you can do in the summer is teaching them to be independent and to be excited about going to school, to be excited about learning. And you know, just to feel ready to be part of a classroom community. Another big question that we get at the beginning of TK in kindergarten is, what are some things I can do to support my child with potty training? So, you know, it is highly encouraged that you start as early as you can this summer supporting them with potty training so that they can feel the most successful when they start TK in kindergarten. So here are some tips that you can do to support potty training at home this summer. You want to create a consistent routine for them. So you want to encourage bathroom visits as regularly as possible throughout the day. Sometimes they do need reminders. When they're little, they don't really know when they need to go until it's the last minute. So, you know, just giving them those frequent reminders to use the bathroom. Choose easy to manage clothing. And this is going to be a big thing when they go to school as well. You know, even when they're fully potty trained, when they're little, it's important that they have clothes that they're able to get on and off on their own. This really helps minimize the number of bathroom accidents. A lot of times in TK and kindergarten, when we see bathroom accidents, it's not that the child wasn't potty trained, it's that they struggled with their button and, you know, just didn't ask a teacher for help in time. So think about elastic waistbands or have them practice you know, using any kind of buttons or zippers or snaps that they have on their clothes before they wear them to school. And then make sure your child feels confident to, you know, button or zip or whatever they need to do independently before they wear that to school. Also encourage children to respond to their body signals. So again, those reminders are going to be super helpful. And just making sure you're talking to them. Hey, if you feel like you need to go to the bathroom, you want to go before it's too late. Practice your entire bathroom routine. So it's not just using the toilet, but you want to have them practice wiping, flushing, dressing, washing their hands so that they're confident with all of those components of using the bathroom before coming to school. And it is important that they are able to do those steps independently, which is why we recommend parents start as early as possible working on those skills. Also celebrate their progress. You know, the little ones, they've only been on this earth for 3, 4, 5 years. And so we really want to let them know that this is a big step for them in becoming independent and growing up. And so we really want to praise their effort and their success. Use positive and encouraging language. So it's really important that we keep the experience supportive and stress-free for them. It can be a lot for kids to learn how to recognize those signals for their body, communicate what their need is when they are learning to potty train. So we just want to make sure that we're always positive and encouraging, even if they have, multiple accidents in a day. We want to let them know that that's okay because we're learning and that's why we're working on it and we're practicing. And then also a big one is practice the potty training away from school or from home, because if you're it's one thing for them to recognize when they need to go at home or you're there to give them frequent reminders, but when they're out somewhere else they have different types of distractions and the environment is different. So giving them an opportunity to practice those skills outside of home is also really helpful in preparing them for TK in kindergarten. We have a link here at the bottom that's toileting resources for families. This is actually a resource bank from the California Department of Education. So this is a potty training toolkit that the State Department of Education put together for new TK and kindergarten parents. So you will have access to that as well. There's books for your child on there. There's parenting book recommendations on there. There's also some visual picture cards that can support you with helping your child with potty training at home. The picture cards give examples for them on all the steps that they should be doing all the way through washing hands. So you will have access to that resource as well. All right, so supporting your child with literacy development. So I said earlier we're going to talk about our early literacy initiative, and this is literacy in TK and kindergarten is one of our primary focuses. So reading together every day and talking about stories is one of the things that we're really encouraging parents to do throughout the school year, not just in the summer. Have conversations during meals, errands, family activities, encourage drawing, coloring, writing for a purpose. So like having them write cards to people, make lists with you, practicing recognizing letters, sounds, print that they see in their environment. I'm going to show you a quick clip from one of our students where she talks about the importance of reading together, but then I'm going to quickly walk you through a literacy family toolkit that we have been working on this whole school year and that is available to you now, but it's also going to be updated all throughout the next school year as well. So this is a resource that you can access all year long that has dozens of literacy resources for you to support your child with that literacy development at home.
Hi, my name is Oshika and I'm a student at the Thomas Unified School District. I'm excited to share that we've launched the Read to Succeed Early Learners Initiative, a district-wide effort to inspire, empower, and connect families through the power of reading. One simple but powerful tip we share is to read with your child for just 10 minutes a day. It may seem small, but it can make a big impact by boosting vocabulary and reading comprehension.
And so this is one of many tips that you'll see on this family toolkit. And I do want to share. Okay, so this is the direct link to the family toolkit. And you can see down here, there's one of the reading tips. But if you click here, you'll see all the reading tips that we posted for families during the 25-26 school year. So those are all available for you to access this summer. You also see on the right-hand side, we have at-home resources, literacy activity sheets, the reading screener. If your child's going into kindergarten, that's something that they will start taking. So in California, all kindergarten through second grade students do take a reading difficulties screener. And really what that is meant to do is just provide us with some very early literacy data so that we can provide targeted intervention for those literacy skills before students get behind. And just to put it on the radar, we want to do some extra monitoring and assessments to make sure that we're providing all the supports that we need to support for our students with those literacy skills. So when your students start taking that reading screener, you'll see that there's resources there, tips for reading at home. And if you click on the title, you'll see all of the resources linked here. So, for example, there's how to create a literacy support plan for your home, how to conduct a book walk. So, asking questions, what types of questions should you be asking your student when you're reading a story to them? We have some videos on the science of reading. So, grounding our teachers on what the research shows on literacy development and literacy instruction is all based around the science of reading. There's resources for parents on the science of reading as well. So there's some videos there for you. And really anything that you would want to be able to access to support your student at home with that literacy development, we have linked here. If you wanted to print out worksheets for them to do, we have those linked here as well. So these are available for you all year long, starting right now. And this link will be in the slide deck for you to access as soon as the cafe team sends the deck to you. All right, so supporting your child with math development at home. So counting objects during daily activities. This can be just counting their snacks or their toys when they're cleaning up at the end of the day, counting steps in your house, counting boxes of cereal at a grocery store, playing board games, card games, and puzzles, especially, as a family or with a parent or with a sibling, is really helpful in developing counting skills, number recognition, problem solving, sorting, comparing, measuring. So this can be things that you do if you have your child cook with you or prepare a snack with you. Looking for shapes and patterns or even numbers in their environment. And then you want to remember to ask questions like how many or which one is more or what do you notice? Those are the types of questions that will really prompt them to be utilizing those math skills. You also want to encourage them to explain their thinking. So asking them, how do you know that that's 5? They might say, I counted, or maybe they know by looking at it, and we call that subitizing. Focus on making math fun and just part of your everyday. Like it could even be them counting how many pair of socks they put in their drawer. So just, incorporating it in a way that makes it fun for them at home. Supporting them with social emotional development at home, encouraging them to talk about their feelings and supporting them with problem solving. Encourage sharing, cooperation, and turn taking, celebrate effort, persistence, and growth, and then really help them develop independence with their daily routines. And then remember, with social emotional development, we want to model kindness, patience, and problem solving. We want to provide those opportunities for children to make choices. So that's going to be huge. Asking them, do you want a banana or an apple? It can be as simple as that, making a decision, but we want them to develop those skills to make a choice, but also be able to communicate what they like. Encourage children to keep trying when something is difficult. So we talked a lot about that persistence, and we want, to encourage them at home as well to not give up and that it's okay if they make mistakes or if they need to work on something a little bit longer. And then supporting your child through play. So we talked a lot about that play-based learning, especially in TK, creating art, building blocks, recycled materials, all of that is great. Play materials for them to have at home, spending time outdoors and just exploring nature. Engage in any kind of like pretend play or anything where they have an opportunity to use their imagination. This can be, like playing store or playing house. You wouldn't even necessarily need any materials for things like that. And then just encourage curiosity by asking questions and investigating together. This article linked here it's from International Baccalaureate. Some of our schools are IB schools, but there's a whole section in this article for families that talks about specific activities that you can do at home that are play-based and will support your child that are TK and kindergarten age. All right, so what to expect at the start of school. So in TK and kindergarten, you can expect to after you drop off your student at school, parents are asked to exit campus right after drop off. And this is because it actually makes the transition to TK or kindergarten class easier for children when parents are not staying in the classroom for long periods of time at the beginning. And Maria Montessori actually did a lot of research on this, and she called it the normalization period. So it found that students, and not just like, your individual student, but other students adjust easier when there are fewer parents or no parents in the room, and they have an opportunity to develop those relationships with the teachers and the other adults in the room, but also with each other. It helps them learn the routines quicker and be able to connect with everyone who's in their classroom for that year. However, we do recommend that parents who are interested in volunteering in the classroom using those first couple of weeks to make sure you have all of your paperwork turned in to be a cleared volunteer. We do have new volunteers in our district that are fingerprinted. And so those first couple weeks is a great time for families to get cleared to be on the volunteer list so that when TK and kindergarten teachers and school sites are ready for parents to come in and volunteer, you are ready to go on day one that parent volunteers are needed. So I do have the checklist there, but this is also available on our website. So you would be able to go access this now and see all of the paperwork that you need to be a volunteer and all of the steps that you need to go through so that you could start working on that even this summer or those first couple weeks of school. And then a reminder that we like to give to families is that starting school is a big adjustment, especially for our little ones. So children begin TK or kindergarten, they're learning new routines, they're building relationships, they're adapting to a new environment. And so because they have so much new information that they're learning, they're meeting so many new people, it's common to see temporary changes in behavior at home during this transition. And so some of the things you might notice, especially at the beginning of the school year, you might see increased tiredness or changes in sleep patterns. If they've never been in a full day school program before, they can be more tired. They might have more emotional reactions, tears or clinginess because there's a lot of new things in their environment, increased frustration or irritability, less talking than usual. They might have some changes in appetite. And then they just might need a greater need for comfort, reassurance, or connection. And I like to talk about this with families at the beginning of TK and K because it's actually more common than most people think. And so, just don't be alarmed if you notice any of these changes and, just be there to comfort them and support them. But ultimately, if you are really concerned about any changes that you see, you want to make sure that you check in with your child's teacher so that you can have a further conversation with them about maybe what they're seeing at school and additional support that could be provided at home or in the classroom. All right, so some other things that you can do to help your students adjust to being in a full day TK or kindergarten, maintaining those consistent routines at home, allow time for rest and really unstructured play. So when they come home, it's important that they have an opportunity to choose an activity that makes them feel good and excited, offer reassurance and encouragement, and also just remember to be patient as your child adjusts. It can take a couple of weeks. Sometimes it can be, for some, especially like our younger ones, it could even be, 2 months. That's, to be expected because of the young age. Stay connected with your child's teacher. Again, if you have concerns or you're not noticing, them changing back to prior to school starting, just check in with your child's teacher so we can make sure that we're providing support in the classroom. And then also we can provide additional recommendations for support at home as well. And again, adjustments take time. So patience, consistency, and encouragement will help them build confidence and thrive at school. And then the last point I want to make for start of school For academics, the first couple of weeks of TK in kindergarten, academic activities might seem simpler than most families would expect, but that is intentional. And we talked a lot throughout this presentation about students learning routines and becoming confident learners and working on that social emotional development. And that's why the first couple of weeks, the academics, we're not going to dive right into, blending, for example, in a kindergarten class, because we really want to work on them becoming successful students and how to learn and being able to adjust to their new school environment, new routines, and new expectations. So at the start of TK, academics might look like introduction to letters, sounds, numbers, early learning concepts. And kindergarten is going to be more of like review and practice of foundational literacy and math skills that they had in TK, but also they will also be learning classroom expectations for reading, writing, and math. And the first few weeks are not about how much students know. It's really about helping them learn how to learn and really focusing on supporting them with being successful all year long. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Kathy for a couple of quick announcements.
Okay, so I believe most of you are already on Parent Square. If you are not, take the opportunity to download the app onto your phones and get your account set up ready to go. This is the main app where the school sites and the district are using for all of our communications. That way you're in the loop with all of the events and things going on at the school site as well as in the district. Okay. And Parent University, it's our community collaborative to help parents become full partners in their children's education with free workshops, events, and activities for parents and families. This session is offered through our Parent University program. There are a few different things that we offer, such as our college and career prep series, where we are doing presentations and workshops to support families with getting their students prepared and ready to go for college and a career after high school. We also host our diverse conversations. It's our community meetings where we are gathering feedback and input from families on some of our district initiatives. And in alignment with our early literacy initiative, we are also hosting family literacy nights throughout the school year to provide families with an opportunity to engage in reading activities with their students at home. These are usually done on Zoom in the evenings, and we feature different children's book authors. So the authors are on Zoom live reading a book, and for any family members that attend that session, they also get a free copy of the book after the session. We also have different parenting classes and discussions that we host throughout the year. One of our really popular one is our Parenting the Love and Logic Way course. It's a 6-week course where you're meeting once a week, and it's just giving you additional skills and resources for parenting. And then lastly, our Put Your Device Away series is opportunities that we provide for families to provide them with opportunities and activities to engage with their students without the distraction of technology devices. An example of that, we hosted the Sacramento Republic FC did a family soccer clinic with us in May, and that was a really big hit that we've been doing for the last 3 years. So just keep up to date with all of the different offerings that we're offering throughout Parent University in the school year. You can visit our website. In the packet that you'll be getting from us next week, you will also have all of this information in there as well. And lastly, our back to school fair is coming up on Saturday, August 1st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It'll be held at our Welcome Center in the parking lot, which is next door to the district office. This is an opportunity for you to come out, get all the resources and supports that you need before the school year starts. Okay, and that